It's time for the Austin Rugby Podcast. On this week's episode, we break down the returning forward pack for the AGs, and we welcome onto the show the Hitman of MLR himself, Mr. Mason Pedersen, and the 2020 MLR rookie standout, Dom Akina. All this and more on the Austin Rugby Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Austin Rugby Podcast. Welcome back to the show. It's another week, another episode of exciting interviews and lots to talk about because we've got a lot going on. You know, last week, Dan Power and I, we pushed to get Joe Rogan to become a major player for the AGs, and we're going to continue to push that until the cows come home, for all that matters. But, you know, the world of rugby never sleeps, and neither does any news coming out of Austin, as it seems. Lots of excitement. We've got another jam-packed episode, so let's dive right into it. First and foremost, I want to really give a shout-out to Austin because probably making one of the biggest announcements in Major League Rugby before the announcements by the Dallas Jackals was the partnership with KXAN. That's right, Austin fans. All 16 matches, both home and away, will be on KXAN/KBVO, which is their partner station as well. Really looking forward to that. It's going to be amazing for the Austin community just to get that television recognition. There's more coming out on that. Sponsorship working with KXAN, that'll be exciting as well. I think that this is a big thing for rugby. Everybody was talking about it, and we look forward to what that is going to do to bolster the support of the gilgronis here in Austin. So stay tuned for more information on that. There's a lot of things going on. Coach Harris is going to be on Studio 512. We'll post links to that in all of our social media. So stay tuned. Looking forward to seeing what KXAN is going to produce for us, because I hear there's even going to be a weekly show about the gilgronis on there. So that too will be very exciting. So lots of good content coming. But we really want to talk about is the team. Last week, we talked about the re-signings in the back line, and this week, we're going to highlight the forward pack and our nines that we got returning. Starting off, I want to really touch base about those loose forwards, and of course, you know, to start off with, I want to talk about Dominic Bailey. You know, last season, you know, he was a regular player 2019, right? So 458 minutes, 458 minutes over 10 matches. Dom was a standout that year at flanker. Unfortunately, Dom suffered a knee injury right at the end of the season that put him on the reserves. And before COVID hit, Dom was working his way back into the team and really increased his physical presence. If you saw him at all, out on the field, if you see any of the posts he has now, you can see that he is really getting back to that fitness level that he had in 2019. If you want to know what kind of player he is, go back and watch the NOLA game. He's a powerful, fast runner and a really hard hitter, great at the breakdown. He had a 50-meter try that he scored against NOLA. He broke off 2 or 3 tackles. I think it was one of the MLR tries of the year. If it wasn't, it should have been. I really look forward to seeing Dom and what he's going to produce on the pitch in 2021. And, of course, speaking of Doms, which is really funny, we have another Dom. The 2020 rookie sensation, my guest later on the podcast, Mr. Dom Akina. Dom was a standout player at the Austin Combine in late 2019, which earned him that MLR contract. That happens when you really have a 38-inch vertical, you run a 4.38 40, and just have a great physical presence and really just a good guy overall. So he's willing to learn. He's young. Dom played all 80 minutes of every single match for Austin in 2020. I do think he's the only player. He had a 99.2% tackle completion rate. He used that incredible vertical that he has to become really Austin's primary line-out target. He was targeted 19 times, 4 steals. And we talked about it with Dan Power. The sky is really the limit for Dom Akina. And I think that he has USA Eagle written all over it. I think because of the shortened 2020 season, if whatever that indication was in that season, he had a try against Rooney that was really great. He has all the right tools. I think that the USA Eagles could be calling very soon for Dom Akina should things continue to go his way. You know, our list of loose forwards is not short. And of course, another one is tough as nails, and of course might be the toughest one, and maybe he's the toughest Canadian, and that's Moe Abdominate. This is his third season with Austin, and Moe is one of the best ball stealers in all of MLR. He's an aggressive tackler. He's a breakdown machine. And he really, yeah, I think what was it last year? He had 5 steals in the first couple matches, or 8 steals in the first couple of matches. He has 21 ball carries, 48 tackles. Like, he was just all over the place. Moe has extremely fast feet and upper body strength that make him an opposing team's nightmare. I do think that the Canadian national call-up is right around the corner. I really do. And I hope it is for Moe, because his high-level work rate are only matched by, really by his calm and laid-back demeanor off the pitch. So I'm very excited to see what Moe's going to do for Austin in 2021. Closing out the loose forwards is actually somebody who didn't get a chance. He got 0 minutes last season, of course, because he was injured. That, of course, is the Lindenwood grad, Michael Dewall. For those not familiar with Michael, he's 6'3", 230 flanker who brings kind of an added power, right? So Dominic Bailey, Dom Akina, and Moe are extremely fast, big hitters, but Michael Dewall brings kind of that power that we need and depth for the team. And depth is really important in the flanker position, because it's one of the toughest positions on the field. Dewall was unfortunately injured preseason last year, left in a boot the entirety of that shortened 2020 season. So I think it's important that we have Michael coming back. I think he's got a ton of promise, and I think that Coach Harris sees that. The same promise. He's already talked to him, a couple times through the different press releases that we've had about Michael Dewall. So I'm looking forward to it. If you've watched any of his matches at Lindenwood, you see the quality he brings to the organization, and again, that depth too. Michael rounds out those 4 returning loose forwards, which are going to be key for us. As we move on, let's talk about some of our front rowers. And of course, our first guest today that we have coming up is none other than the Hitman of MLR, Mason Pedersen. Mason, like Zinzan, are the only 2 remaining players from the inaugural season, the inaugural Austin team. And really, actually, they were both in part of the Huns D1 national championship team. So Mason's received the moniker of the Hitman after delivering what we call the rugby hit heard round the world on Mr. Mathieu Bastereau of Rooney over there in the Las Vegas match. Mason's a standout player. He, as a front rower, he recently just got added to the USA player pool, which is really excited for him. Dylan Stanford basically said that he is one of the guys to look out for the 2023 USA Eagle World Cup team. So I'm excited to hear that. I think just Mason is a key building block for the AGs. His size, his strength, his hitting ability. Coach Harris said it in the podcast for the MLR kickoff that Mason was one of the cornerstones of the team that he wanted to make sure he got back. He's 23. He's young. He's a big guy. I think Mason is looking to help build Austin into that dominant team of the future. Next up, we have Kentucky's favorite son, Mr. Lerome Light. Lerome joined the AGs for his third season, after winning the MLR Shield with Seattle in 2018. Big Lerome, he led the AGs in tackle percentage made with a 99.5% tackle completion. And he's more than just big hits, right? So Lerome, he's hardworking ball carrier. He will push for hard meters. There's a couple tries that you can look back into that 2019 season. Lerome will work those extra really small meters if need be. Solid front rower. He's trained under the beast in his academy in South Africa. He's proving to be a cornerstone of the pack for next season. I really do see Lerome constantly battling with Mason and Jamie McIntosh for that starting spot. I do think that it's going to be a good battle, and it's a good battle to have. It's important to have that high quality depth in the front row. Speaking of, Mr. McIntosh, we have coming back to us this season, Wapa, the big man, coming back for another season with the AGs, former All Black. Jamie he's a stalwart of the game, right? He made an instant impact last year when joining the team. When he returns, it will be more than just a player, but he's also going to be part of the coaching staff. He's going to be the forwards coach as an assistant. So it's good to get his knowledge. He's been around the game. He knows a ton. Mason and Larome have so much to learn from him. I think it's going to be extremely helpful for us too. He's a monster at loose head. He's 6'4", 290, known for his scrummaging. I mean, he knows you could see it in the Houston game. He's a master of the dark arts is the best way to put it. Led the team in ruck arrivals with 97 ruck arrivals in just 3 matches. I mean, come on. Whopper in the squad it's great, but I think in the back room is only going to strengthen the team. He's going to provide the power in the front row that we need, but be able to teach those dark arts to the front rowers who are a little bit younger, like Larome and Mason. So looking forward to that. Of course, the last front rower we have coming back, I think needs no introduction, right? Like at all. Like he is Austin's source and maybe all of MLR's source of energy and excitement. And he's none other than Mr. Brendan Rams. Ramsey comes back for his 3rd season with Austin as well. He hasn't been a starter, right? He doesn't. He's one of the finishers. He puts in the hard work. He's a regular finisher to each game. Maybe it's because of his job as a personal trainer, where he knows you got to put in the time. You got to put in the hard work and hard time to be successful, and he'll tell you that too, a whole lot. I don't know. I don't, but I don't know, but I do know. What makes him that hard worker, and it's he's South African born. He gives it his all. He really wants to push you to the next level. He brings power, and I mean power, to the team last year. He averaged 5 meters per carry. He had a 92% completion rate, but it's that energy and that's associated with that power that Rams puts out that makes him not only an exciting player but also a great person for the team. Nothing but positive things from Rams. If you follow him on social media, and I do recommend this, you should follow him if you don't already. He might be the hardest working player in MLR right now. I feel bad for the lads going into preseason when you think that Rams is in probably mid-season shape. I think 1,600 calories. He's averaging like 14 to 1,600 calories per workout. I mean, come on, Rams, really? Whew. I'm looking for big things for him this year. I think it's going to be fantastic. All right. So enough of, the forwards. Let's move on to, part of the forward pack. I think it's important to bring them into, we've got our nines. Nines are also important. And of course, we're excited because we have 2 international nines coming back. First, we've got Samoan international Pele Cali. Really sad to see the year end last year so abruptly, because Pele made an instant impact, right? He had 1 game against Houston. He led the team in tackles. He broke the gain line on every single run, and he kicked for 166 meters. I mean, that's pretty awesome. But I think what surprised me most was his instant ability to step in, to play a whole 80 minutes in his first match and feel like he had been there the entire season. And it took me by surprise. I was really kind of shocked. His command on the pitch was incredible, especially to close out the game. I think Pele brings that leadership and that you typically get from someone who's represented their nation, especially 15 times, and 3 of those were at a World Cup. So of course, he's going to have that experience and that knowledge. Speaking of international leadership, the AGs re-signed Marcela Tori Alba for his 3rd season as well. A lot of 3rd seasons coming back. I like this. The Chilean scrum half led the team last year in points with 28. He was 13 of 14 out of his goal kicking. Really, Marcelo, if you've watched Austin at all, Marcelo is a sniping runner. He's quick-footed. He's got a solid pass from the base. You see this every other game where he takes off for a quick tap for 20 to 30 meters and links up with at least a wing or one of the centers, for an offload. I think Marcelo has something special. He was able to play for Chile down at the Sudamerica 4 Nations that just came off a couple months ago. Unfortunately, Chile was just a penalty kick short of winning the tournament against the Argentine 15. Marcelo has really grown in maturity. That's the one thing I've seen from the 3 years is Marcelo has grown in maturity on the field as a commander since he arrived. I think that he and Pele will really push each other to be better as they battle for that number 9. There's no doubt about it. They're two guys that are going to go at it constantly. But they have strong leadership, and I think that's kind of the exciting part of watching them kind of come together. Watching those two guys go at it. So there we go. All the re-signings. It's exciting, man. I don't know. If we total it up, we've got 5 in the back, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we got 15 coming back. Ballpark-ish. I think it's the right number. My math may be off today. I forgot how to count. In the coming weeks, we're really gonna look at the new signings because, man, we've got a ton of new signings. It's exciting. If you're not excited for the team, I don't know what you're thinking, really. Be excited, because I think that the guys coming back are really going to help the guys coming in, because we want to build that culture. There were a lot of turnover the first couple of seasons between those coming back. We talk about it. Only Mason and Zenny are the only two that have actually been around since the beginning. Hopefully they can build the new breed of guys coming through and for a long term, like more than just 1 year. We don't want the one and done. So that's what we got. All the re-signings from the AGs for 2021. Stick around. Right after the short break, we'll sit down with 2 of the returning players, which we told you about. Mason Pedersen, Dom Akina. Looking forward to chatting with those guys. You've tuned in to the Austin Rugby Podcast. Well, the first guest on today's podcast is no stranger to the Austin rugby scene. He's been around. Well, actually, he and one other person have been around since the beginning. Actually, since back technically in the Huns days, or the Huns Elite days when they won the national championship. I'd like to welcome to the podcast for the first time, which is pretty sad because it has been 3 years. The first time onto the podcast, Mr. Mason Pedersen. Mason, how's it going, man?
It's going well. It's been a nice day. It's nice and sunny outside. Can't complain.
Yeah, no, we're out of the snow that was here. Was it last week or so? And into some little nicer weather. So we had our 1 to 3 days of winter, right?
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's nice that it wasn't on a day that we needed to be outside. So we got outside on Saturday, and then snow came on Sunday, and then Monday it was all gone. So yeah. Can't complain.
Awesome. Hey, so we talked about it offline for a second there, and I did just mention it. It has been 4 years, right? 4 years that you've been in Austin, or were you in Austin before that Huns Elite team that won the national championship?
No, it's 4 years almost to the week right now. So January of 2017. So
yeah. And the changes that you've seen in 4 years with the Austin professional side. Do you want to kind of go through that in about 2 minutes?
2 minutes, short time. No,
just kidding, man.
There's been a lot of change between personnel, either front office, owners, coaches, staff, everything, players, all the way down to the bone. So from where we train to what we have now to where we even play, it's been 3 venues now, four venues.
4 venues, yeah.
Yeah, and almost a backtrack and then 4th venue. So yeah, it's been crazy. It's been fun to watch. We started out with the Huns back at Nixon Lane, and then moved with the Elite, still training out there, but playing up in Round Rock at the multipurpose complex, and kind of taking that massive step the next year and getting on a facility and moving into Dell Diamond, which was a cool place to play, but kind of weird and quirky and not the easiest visually or best for actual rugby, but it was kind of cool to take the next step up. The staff was first class and the whole facility was, the grass down to the people who ran the locker room.
Yeah.
So, and then kind of to take that next step in with Gilly coming on board and bringing some capital and moving us down to Coda and Yeah, it's been a wild ride, and to see some of the people coming back now kind of shows you how far we've come.
Yeah.
Guys leave and come back. It's a pretty special place to be.
Yeah,
So I think
exactly.
that you'll see that this year. There's multiple boys coming back, so that's definitely a positive. So yes, me and Zinni are the only two left from the first year, or from the beginning.
From the beginning.
In essence, we've been through it all, but there is guys coming back that have been gone for a couple of years, which will be kind of fun.
Now you said guys. We know one, and Patty Ryan. Are you saying there's others that are coming back? That are you going to get in trouble now?
No, I think that we'll see what happens, and then definitely think that there's stuff to come along the way, and I'm not spilling any beans.
You don't want to be that guy, right?
No, definitely not. I'm not ruining anybody's moment.
I know a couple people in the social media department that may have something to say about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not the most filtered person, so they know that.
There you go. Well, so it's been right. So you've had a pretty great career. I mean, you've been around. I mean, you were around in pro rugby a little bit too with San Diego when you were younger, correct? Yeah, you've kind of worked your way all the way around. I mean, from an early age, you were under 19 or under 20 USA Eagles.
Under 20.
Under 20. Yeah. I can never remember if it's 19 or 20. So under 20 USA Eagles. You've been part of pro rugby. You've won a national championship with the Huns, and then 4 years. Like that's a lot of. You're a pretty young guy still. I mean, for the most part, you're what, 24?
Yeah, I just turned 24 in September.
24. So. Congratulations on. Oh, God, you're young. So you're 24, but you've done a lot. Do you feel like you are now like a seasoned veteran? Do you feel like you've got Jamie McIntosh and Whopper up there who's had a few more games than you have, but still like you're one of the most seasoned players in the league when it comes to especially the prop position.
Yeah, like it's definitely been a wild ride. I think that I got set up luckily enough that I had a good core rugby upbringing in the same sense. Like I didn't start till high school, but my first coach was Gavin Hickey, who is now the coach at Navy, and then Ray Egan took over, who was my head coach in San Diego. So those are my two first coaches in high school. So to just start with that is massive compared to most kids in America. Definitely getting first class coaching straight from the beginning. So, but no, I definitely feel like it's been a while now. It's going on year 6 of just playing rugby. Definitely can't complain. I'm lucky enough to be there. Like definitely came through at the right time.
Yeah.
I remember getting off the plane in Atlanta from Zimbabwe with the U20s and getting a message if I wanted to go play pro rugby. Landed in Arizona, took my finals the next day, and the next day I packed up my stuff and was on the plane to San Francisco to play a game. So yeah, it all happened real fast. And sometimes I could take a look back at it and be like, dang, it's been a while now.
Yeah.
But definitely a good ride. I have the best job in the world. I can't complain.
Was there any, when you were coming off of that championship in Zimbabwe, as you were playing there and getting ready to go, was there any like hope to go play Premiership, go try to play in, Southern Hemisphere or anywhere else? Like just to, we'll just say anywhere in Europe really to play rugby. Because at that time, there was nothing, before pro rugby, lasted that first year, there was nothing in the US. I mean, the Premiership of the US at that particular time, but that was the highest level. Was there any drive or any consideration to go play overseas?
Yeah, that's ultimately still the goal. I went to school earlier on that year in 2016. I went and did 2015. I went to Leicester and did a semester out there, and that was quite cool. Nice. I got to live in a big rugby city and kind of see it from the ground up.
That was always a goal. Not a bad rugby city either.
No, not at all. I used to have a Danish passport as well, so it was definitely the goal.
Yeah.
So it's still the goal. It's definitely still the goal to get overseas, but now it's a little bit not as time sensitive. It's when the right opportunity comes, if the right opportunity comes. Whereas back in the day, that was your you go to Europe. That was the goal for every young American. Yes, I didn't think, I thought I would be in school until I graduated and then kind of go through the club rank and then try to get overseas or whatever, or try to do as much as possible to get a academy contract or so often. But obviously got thrown right into the fire as a 19-year-old playing pro rugby. So that was a good start for me. That competition was still very high level. I think people forget that. That year was a very very good year of rugby.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it did go defunct, and there were all kinds of issues in it, but it was still high quality rugby. It wasn't like it wasn't like you're just throwing a bunch of guys on a field and just hoping for the best. Like there's still a lot of people who are currently playing in MLR and around the world who played in pro rugby that year. Now, granted, there's probably more that aren't, but still, there's still that amount, that core group of guys that were playing on the team. So it's not like it was terrible rugby. That's what I think people forget about, is that quality level that you were talking about there. So nice.
Yeah, and I definitely got thrown straight into the fire. Definitely, being 19 years old. Yeah, being 19 years old, you don't know what it really is. I never played against men before. Like it was a whole different thing. I've always tried to be physical, so like that was probably my saving grace. In the end of the day, like I am pretty reckless with my body, so it's probably my saving grace come then that I was just trying to do as much as possible and throw my body around as much as I could.
Yeah.
Speaking
of throwing your body around, you've become pretty, we'll call it social media famous, for you throwing your body around and some of the big hits that you've had in the past couple seasons. Actually, Mr. Dan Power on the previous episode talked about Mr. Bastereau and the hit that we had he called it the hit that shook the rugby world, and the hit heard around the world. And that and the hit you had against Houston, I mean, that instant highlight reel, is that where the nickname the Hitman came about?
Well, it's not me that named it, so
okay. I hope you wouldn't nickname yourself. Like that's
I woke up to and kind of stuck around our socials, definitely. But no, I've always liked to hit. I've always wanted a target on my back. I've always wanted to be the guy that steps up and goes after the biggest person. And it's not going to change this year or next year or the year after that. That's always going to be who I am.
Yeah.
Going into the week, I always said I wanted to step up. I was a prop in the back line of the line out. Like I always wanted to be manned up on him. That was always the goal.
Yeah.
I wanted to put myself in the position. I always will want to put myself in the position. The bigger the name, the person who probably I want to go after the most. Yeah. That's just always who I am. I'm not going to back down just because I'm a American or I'm a prop or anything like that. So I like to get in niggles. I like to be physical. I like to go after people, obviously in a safe way. I don't want to be getting any red cards or yellow cards or anything, but that's always the goal. I want to be physical, and that's what I want to bring to the game.
That's awesome. What was it like? Obviously everybody saw the hit on Bastereau. Like it was a highlight reel hit for sure. He came out afterwards and he said, "Yeah, you rocked him." What was it like to have somebody? You played against a lot of big players, and you played against some very well known and very reputable players. What was it like to have somebody like from his status of Bastereau status kind of compliment you and say how that it was a big hit and that was something that made an impact on him?
Yeah, well, I talked to him after the game for a second. Very nice guy, very humble. Ultimately, I keep myself to high standards, so those are the guys I want to be playing with week in and week out. That's the goal. So ultimately, yeah, it's good, but ultimately I expected myself to do that. It wasn't like a surprise to me where it was a surprise to other people. I went into the week wanting to do that. Yeah. It wasn't a surprise. I talked that through. Ultimately, I wish we could have got a penalty out of it the other way, but other stuff happened. But no, I like to talk that stuff into existence, and I want to do that. So it wasn't a surprise to me or anybody close to the team that it happened. Probably more overseas than anything. So hopefully just keep on doing that and making a name for yourself. That's just the goal. Obviously, you want to always make a name for yourself, and I think that doing stuff like that helps. But
Yeah.
ultimately, I just want to be a rugby player and be well respected around the league, and then hopefully get higher honors and move on somewhere else after.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And of course, those of us that have watched you play the past couple of years here in Austin, we know that quality of play. We know that standard that you set yourself to. And you said you want to be a better rugby player. You want to move on. You want to continue to progress. And, recently you've actually been recognized and been, we'll call it moved up to that next echelon and being selected for the player pool for USA Eagles. And even this week, I believe there was an article that came out that had, for the forwards for, you on World Rugby, I think that was where the article was, the next generation of Americans that are going to come through, and talking about the forward pack. And you had Hanko, who, former Austin player. And then of course they had you on there as, the next generation of the, in the forward pack that's going to come in and make that impact. What is that like to now have that kind of, you're getting that recognition, you're moving up, you're trying to get to that goal, your goal of being a USA Eagle and playing in a World Cup in 3 years?
Yeah. That's the goal. You said it right there, to play in the World Cup. I think that's every player's goal. It should be.
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me is yes, it's exciting to be getting some recognition and be in the pool and be announced with those guys and stuff like that. But ultimately, the goal is to get capped. And until then, I'm going to keep working. I've been close before. I've been playing A-side. Injuries happened. I've been close and sort of taste some success just to kind of take years off again. So I don't want to take it for granted necessarily, but there's still a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of guys at the position in the country that are doing well. There's one guy playing overseas that's doing really well. So the goal is to just keep on getting better and tightening up those things and doing what the coaches want to get capped, and then ultimately taking that cap in and turning it into multiples and going to World Cup. That's the goal.
Yeah. I mean, the past couple of seasons, we haven't really had what I call like a true forwards coach. You now have Jamie McIntosh coming back, who's lining up on the other side, of that front row with you, or at least did for the last couple of games this season. What's it like to learn from Jamie and his experience, and what is his kind of involvement? How has it helped you become a better player?
Well, Jamie's a true professional. Like in everything he does, you'll see him. He writes down notes. He gets on the bike. Like, he does all the little things right. So I think that's something that a lot of us can take from him, especially in the forward pack. He's been there, done that. He's played for the biggest teams in the world. He's played in Heineken Cup. He's played in Top 14. He's played in Super Rugby. So every little thing he says is gold. I think just listening ultimately and learning from him is the best way. And also, I get to go against him every once in a while. So that's obviously huge in that sense, and just keep working with him. And hopefully, obviously, we win together, and also he helps me get better as a player. He's got knowledge. He's been with the best coaches in the world. So ultimately, that's the goal, is just to take his knowledge and hopefully take it in and use it on the field.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And of course, when it was announced that he's coming back in that kind of player coach role, it was really exciting. I mean, I'm talked about it on the podcast last week. Really, really excited about not just the re-signings, but the new signings and kind of the depth that we have now. Like there's a depth that we haven't had in the past couple of years, and you've been a part of it, and that we're scrambling at the last minute to try to find some guys to come in season 2, and then last year waiting on visas and things like that. So it's great to hear that people are re-signing and people are joining the club early, because you guys are this week everybody comes in, is that right?
Well, hopefully everybody will be in
by the
end of the week.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. No, I think the end of next week, actually.
Next week.
But boys are coming in, and they're obviously, especially with these times, they're quarantining and stuff and getting tests done. So we're definitely being safe there, but it is exciting. I think that's been a big problem, and I've voiced that a couple times in the past, that us doing preseason as 15, 20 isn't going to win an MLR championship. You're just not going to get to the level you need to. And it ultimately is guys working harder than other guys, and not of their own fault, just because they can't get in visa-wise, lawyers, papers, It's not, you can't necessarily put on them, but it wasn't good for the team culture. Guys showing up a week before we play games, guys showing up mid-season. There'll still be guys that maybe show up week 2, 3, 4, but the core squad will be here. The core 30 of us, 35 of us will be here.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately that is so much better. And our coaches are here.
Oh, yeah.
They're young, energetic guys that are best friends. So ultimately we're one big family this year. And I think that that's a big thing that we're trying to push. And I think that that's what's going to push us pretty far.
Yeah.
I think we have good depth, good squad, but that's ultimately what's going to win a championship.
Mason, I appreciate the segue lead-in that you had there about, talking about the coaching staff in this year, because that was actually my next question. Obviously, you've been here from the start. There's been ups and downs with coaching, with all kinds of things going on in the back room, but it seems as though since it's been the team's been purchased in the last year, and the changes that happened pretty quickly. There was kind of a lull time last season. It was kind of like, throwing things together at the last minute, trying to get everybody in. But this season, there's been, at least from the outside, there's been organization. You've had these amazing coaches come in. Walk me through kind of your feelings and how it's been, because obviously you could have had the opportunity to go play for LA this year. It existed. It's going back home to playing. You're from California. What's it been like to actually see the change from season 1 to now, and what's going on with, Sam and Mark and everybody that's coming into the organization to help build a better family team, if you will?
Yeah. Yeah. So ultimately, there's definitely unfinished business for me here. I've been here from the beginning, as you stated earlier on the podcast. I've seen everything. So it'd be harsh to leave now when everything is really starting to kick up, and we go from a team that is looked at as, can we target this game, to now we're the ones that are every game, we're the target. So yeah. I think that that's the culture that we need to instill. And I think that Sam and Mark are unbelievable. They're very professional. Mark's 2 years out removed from playing rugby. He's still fresh there. Like, he's definitely been there, done that. He played for 15, 16, I think even longer than that, years of professional rugby. He knows what that standard is. Same with Sam. They know the standard. That's the ultimate goal, is just to have a high standard. And I think that's player driven, but also coach driven. For sure. In the same sense, it's coach from the beginning. It's them doing their job, and the players also policing themselves. And then that ultimately brings a family. So if you respect one another and we love each other, then I think that ultimately that comes onto the field. You want to play for the person next to you. So that's what we're trying to build. I think that we've shared stories with each other, and we're already pretty close, and we haven't even seen each other on the field yet. So that's a step in the right direction.
Do you think COVID has helped that? Do you think kind of having those intimate, we talked with Christian about it, having those intimate Zoom calls where you're meeting everybody and kind of just sharing about who you are and life and stuff. Do you think that's helped more than in previous seasons and actually being together?
Well, I think that it's helped, but I think it's ultimately it was Sam and Mark that I think they would have done it, COVID or not. Yeah. I think that's a big thing for them. So I think that's what they wanted to get done first. They wanted everybody to know everybody deep down, not just on the outside, but also on the inside. So I think that they would have done that probably day one, but because of COVID, it's got us a good start, and Zoom has become a much bigger thing. So it's become much easier to do. And I think that now day one, we already know each other. Yeah. It's not showing up and meeting people, handshaking new guys. It's I've met you on Zoom. Now I'm meeting you in person. Now let's get to the job. Yeah. And ultimately that's what it is. It's a job, and it's a fun job at that, but it's a job.
That's good to hear. And I think that's, I'm excited for the season, and I know everybody else is definitely excited for the season. I'm glad to hear that you are as well. Looking ahead, I'm gonna throw some questions at you. Some okay. Nothing too crazy, but I'm just curious with a little rapid fire action. besides Zenny, since you've been roommates with Zenny and you've been playing with Zenny for 4 years, who's been one of your favorite players on the team to play with? Whether it's because he's in the back in the kit room, I mean the back room, or whether or not it's on the field. Who's been one of your favorite players to play with? Showing favorites, and so I don't know if you want to show favorites.
Well, like me and Wop are pretty close. We got pretty close last year. There's a bunch of guys. Anybody that's been here from the beginning. Me and Patty have a good relationship.
Yep.
Like we had good fun. We've played against each other, played with each other. Yeah, I think that ultimately in the back line, Willie McGee's a little bit of a character. We have fun. We play golf. Like definitely brought some good to the team. There's a bunch of guys. Me and Christian actually on A-Side Tour, we were roommates, so we go way back as well, weirdly enough. So, yeah.
What are the odds, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like he told me he's from Austin. I didn't even, before that,
where's Austin?
I knew of Austin, but like I never thought in a million years I'd be living here, so playing rugby. So yeah, it's kind of cool to see him come home because every time he's come home, I've hung out with him, and now that he's playing with us, it's a pretty cool opportunity for us. Who else? Yeah, I think as a group of boys, we're gonna have a lot of fun. There's a lot of flavor, a lot of different countries, a lot of different people that come from different backgrounds.
And you've got Ramsey too, so you know he's always a character.
Yeah, well, everybody in Austin that knows Ramsey knows that. That's not a big surprise. He's been around the scene for a long time in this city, so
yeah. He'll be on the podcast next week, so that'll be I may just dedicate a whole hour talking to him. So,
well, if you watch his social media, it's a very fun little watch.
Yeah,
it's very amusing.
Here you go. Is your training regimen up to that of Brendan Rams?
I do not burn 1,600 calories. I've never seen somebody burn 1,600 calories in a workout, but I don't know what he's doing.
I don't think it's really him.
I'll stick to the plan that I'm given, and that's kind of where I'm at.
There you go.
I do what's told, and there's a reason why there's professionals that give us workouts, and I'm the player.
So we talked about people you've played with. Think about throughout history, who's a player that you would have loved to scrum down against? Like, who's somebody that you have it like, man, just would have been great just to, on that engage, you go, yeah, I really just want to go head to head with that guy that maybe you never got the chance to, or maybe you have, and who's been your favorite person ever to scrum down against, and who's one that you wish you would have gotten the chance to?
Well, weirdly enough, like the Beast was gonna be a very exciting opportunity. He ended up not playing this last year. We played them, so it's a funny little thing that that was kind of disappointing in the sense I was really looking forward to the challenge. I think that a lot of young tight heads would love to go against him.
Yeah.
You literally saw him months before he was playing in a World Cup final. So
lifting the World Cup final.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, when I was a young kid, I went against Whopper in pro rugby, and we got in a big fight. He split my head open, so it's kind of a funny little story that we're now teammates and stuff. So yeah,
more serendipitous stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I ultimately think that I wish I would have got the opportunity last year. That would have been fun. He's gone from the league now, so. But another guy, maybe Joe Moody. For some reason, he's always seemed like a guy that just does his job, and he just goes about his business, and that's a guy that I would like to look.
Latest international rumors is he's backing out of his contract, and so maybe, who knows, maybe we'll see him in the MLR sometime soon. How great would that be?
Hopefully, I think that'd be awesome. The bigger names that come, I think the better.
Yeah. Moody and Maller. I've heard Maller or Joe Maller. Like that would be
no. Oh, that would be cool. I think that he's a character in himself. He's definitely a character.
Joe Maller for sure is definitely. And maybe I thought I saw Moody was like he was going to try to get a new contract somewhere else, but maybe not. Who knows?
But maybe France makes some money. Japan.
Exactly. Japan's where a lot of people are going to Japan. So
yeah.
Well, it's
a very nice season.
Yeah, exactly. The 2021 season, we're a couple months away. Like, any kind of parting last thoughts about how you think the season's going to turn out?
I think that people are going to be surprised. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about us this off season, a lot about our name, a lot about who we are, what we're doing. I think ultimately you win games, people forget about the little stuff.
Yeah.
They want to see exciting brand of rugby, and I think that's what we're going to bring. I think we're going to play some very fast-paced rugby and hopefully throw some big hits in there and do all the basics right. I think that that's where it starts, and definitely going to be fun to watch. I think that we're going to win some games, and hopefully it leads to us lifting the shield at the end of the year. That's the goal. I think it went from winning some games last year to now we got a target on our back and we want to win the shield.
Yeah.
That's it.
I would love nothing more than that, as everybody else would, so we can just put it right there in everyone's face. So.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
We greatly appreciate you jumping on the podcast for the first time in 4 years. We'll make sure there's less time in between your next appearances. Mason, greatly appreciate it. We're glad to see you coming back for another season. Glad that you're getting the recognition for the USA Eagles and getting into the player pool, and hopefully we can you can be an Austin player when you recognize that dream of getting that cap and getting into that World Cup with the Eagles.
Yep, that's the goal. I appreciate you having on. It's been a fun time. I think that hopefully people listen to it and learn a lot from this and kind of watch us this season. I think that we're going to have a fun season and come out Dakota for sure.
Absolutely. Our very own Mason, I'll call him very own because he's been here long enough that he can claim being an Austinite. Our very own Mason Pedersen. Mason, thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
For my next guest on the podcast, last year he was probably the rookie of the year, the MLR breakout player of the year. One of the most exciting players, I think, in MLR right now. Really excited he plays for us and not for somebody else. And of course, I think it's going to be, we talked about it a little bit earlier, and in the forwards pack, with all the loose forwards that we have, he could be, one of those guys that really shines this year. So I'm really excited to have him on the podcast. Like to welcome back for the second time in 2 days because of technical difficulties, Dom Akina. Dom, what's going on, man?
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So yesterday we started recording and we got about 4 minutes in, and then Dom's AOL dial-up decided to give out. But we're good now, right? We have internet provided by an unnamed source, since we don't want to promote anybody's business.
Yeah, we got the Wi-Fi now. We
got the Wi-Fi now. We're good. We're good to play Call of Duty and sit on a podcast and record for a couple minutes. So Dom, it's I alluded to it earlier in the podcast. We talked about it with Dan Power last week. You kind of came out of nowhere last year, which is exciting, right? Give us the journey, right? Where you started playing rugby all the way up to just right before the combine at the end of 2019.
Yeah, I started in Western Oregon back in 2012. Honestly, it was just one of those things where one of our friends was actually like, we're a D1 athlete, because at the time rugby was D1 and football at our college was D2.
Oh.
He was like, I'm a D1 athlete, I'm better than you. And I was like, man. So me and a couple of the football players went out just to say we were a D1 athlete. So we went out, played a game. And that first game, the first time I touched the ball was actually an 85-meter try. And after that, yeah. So after that, I was in love with the game after that.
Well, I mean, you played defense in football, right? You were a free safety, or
I was a
cornerback, and so obviously you don't get to touch the ball that often, right? Or ever. I don't know. I mean, you're the one making hits, and you're not the ones breaking away for 80 meters or whatnot.
Yeah, we're always on the the outside one-on-ones the whole time. So
yeah, anytime
I could get my hands on the ball, I'm taking it.
It's a golden moment, right?
Yeah.
So what was it? I mean, I guess what's that feeling like? To switch to go to a different sport and go, oh man, I can touch the ball. It's a completely different style of play. It's I mean, we all know the physicality is completely different than American football.
Oh yeah. There was controversy though with my football coach. He didn't want me to play rugby. He just wanted me to strictly stay to football. But I kept going, talking to him, and just like throwing hints out there about rugby and stuff. Like, it would make me a better tackler and ball runner and all this.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't know anything about rugby. I was just trying to throw anything out there so he could let me play. But sometimes we would have to like just be like, yeah, coach, we have nothing going on. And then
nothing going on.
Go team play. To go play.
Man.
So
some people call that moonlighting in the business world, where you work one job in the daytime and another one at night. So you don't want anybody to know about it. So.
But he ended up finding out, and we had a talk, and then
was he okay with it?
Where I could play. Yeah, it ended up working out where I could play rugby, but it was one of those things like, well, if you get hurt,
you're in trouble.
It's going to affect her. Yeah. So, but I didn't get any hurt or get hurt in rugby other than football. That's a whole different story. I had 2 knee surgeries on that.
Everybody's like, oh man, rugby's so much tougher. You get hurt so much more. It's like, no, like I played American football. You get hurt way more in football than you do in rugby.
Yeah, you could just go for ankle tackles and all that.
Right. Yeah.
And just.
Hey man, there's a reason why top college programs now are getting rugby teams to come teach them how to tackle. So just throwing that out there for anybody.
Well, even NFL, I think it was Harbaugh that took them out.
Yeah.
To
learn
about rugby and tackling.
Right?
Yeah.
As a Michigan. Yeah. So yeah. No, I totally agree. So okay, so you're at Western Oregon, you're playing football, you're playing rugby, you're a dual sport athlete, a D1 and D2 athlete, which is very so take me into after that, right? So, the prospects of playing football, weren't there for you, but you saw opportunities with rugby. What happened after that? Like after college days?
Yeah, so I ended up playing for Coach Tyson, James Tyson, for the Willamette Valley Sharks down in Salem, Oregon. And so I ended up playing with their sevens team. It was my first year. I think they were like 2 or 3 years in.
Yeah.
So I just came on the last year. Ended up playing with them. He taught me some stuff, and then we would play teams like the WAC, the Washington Athletic Club, and the Ronins. We even played when they had the Saracens.
Oh yeah.
I played against them when I think in like 2015. I played with them or against them, but playing those teams, there was a lot of people looking in, like, because there was a lot of top recruits there, and they would always go to the championship and all this. So there was a lot of eyes, but there wasn't eyes really on our team. I mean, we were just like a up and coming team, still developing, but got some looks. And then Coach Tyson, they reached out to Austin, to Todd Clever and Drew. And then they ended up emailing me about a combine that they had, and I should come out at and try to showcase what I got. But it was a tough decision because at the time I was just working at a good job.
Yeah.
Back up in Oregon, but it was tough because I didn't know if I could take time off, and the flights last minute was just
last minute flights are always expensive no matter where. Like,
so
we going nowhere, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was put in a tough decision there, but I mean, it all worked out.
I mean, it all worked out, and you became, through the different channels, people started hearing about this guy with this amazing vertical, and we talked about it briefly yesterday before we started recording. It was like, I got to find the video. I did find the video, which you actually have never seen. So we're actually going to show this right now. So sorry for those listening. If you're listening to the podcast, go to the YouTube channel, Austin Rugby Supporters, and you can watch this video. We'll have it up there. But here's the video of Dom jumping in his very first attempt. So if you can see here, right? So Corey Jones is in the back over here. You're getting ready to jump. Of course, I love putting a super slow-mo. Watch his hand. It is over the damn top of the things. So super slow-mo, and in the back you watch Corey just take this stick and throw it. You're like, man, I'm out of here. I thought that was really great. The other one is we were actually looking at your 40 time too. And so we have this one where I was running next to you, and I couldn't even keep up with how fast. So 4.38.40, right? 4.38.40 and a 38-inch vertical. Come on, man. That's not even fair. Like, that's not even fair. So anyway, those two things, which you've seen for the first time, what was, obviously, how fast was it? Was it literally right after you jumped that you got a contract signed, or was it a couple days? You also had the best Bronco time too. Like, come on, that's not even, again, golly.
No, the jump, I was nervous. Honestly, I was real nervous. Like, I knew that I could jump and get up, but it's times like that where you have to actually really prove yourself and show out. Like, sometimes people, they do well beforehand, and then it's time to show, and then all of a sudden it's like, what happened? So I was still nervous. It was like competing against myself, pretty much, against what I already know I could do. But it was my first time I ever did a combine or anything like that, so I was already nervous.
You didn't have a combine with anybody else, right? Like, this was just your coach sent an email to Todd and Drew and said, hey, you got to check this guy out in Oregon who's been playing sevens, because you hadn't played 15s, right?
No, just in college, but that wasn't. It was a small school league. Yeah. But
so very little 15s experience, and you're like, sevens. Okay, this guy's going to be a standout. And it's. I tell you what, I'm glad that Todd and Drew took a chance and brought you on. So, I mean,
me too.
Yeah, right. But so here we are, getting ready to start the 2020 season. You're a professional athlete then. Walk me through that first game, going through to Toronto, or having Toronto come down and getting ready to go out into, so you started with the herd and then it all switched over, like bang, 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 as a lot of people did. But what's it like to, think that you're going to be playing for one team with one ownership, and then obviously instantly get changed, whole stadium gets moved, or, we get moved to a new stadium, and then you run out for your first ever game against Toronto, who's a solid team last year.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Leading up to that, it didn't hit me until I was on the field after that kickoff and we made contact. Yeah. I think we started off with the game, they kicked it, and then the ball just ended up.
Ball bounced and they scored. 3 minutes. I think it was 3 minutes into the match. Oh.
and so after that, I was like, all right, we're actually playing. Yeah. But leading up to before the game, like in practices and stuff, I was honestly still on the sideline. I was watching and learning still and getting yelled at, learning my position and job. So I still had a lot to take in. I mean, being in this league with, like, obviously people that played when they were young, and me just joining now, I had a lot to catch up on. So I was just constantly getting yelled at, but it was good.
Yeah. Honestly, it didn't take long for you to start really making your impact. And the second week of the season against Rooney, you scored a try, you multiple tackles. I mean, you're literally, for the entire shortened season, you were the number one target in the line out. I forget how many. I had it up here. 19 total targets, 4 steals. Like, I guess it helps when you have a 38-inch vertical, and then forwards just go, all right, we'll just lift them up like a couple inches here. But walk us through that Rooney game, right? Like, where I feel you really started to shine, especially with the breakaway run that you had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, on that try, it was actually a play that we had inserted that week, actually, because we saw how kind of like their line out was, and see how they line up. We installed it with Lino, and he ended up taking it, and it was just me supporting Lino. But it was supposed to be like 8 hit the 7 or 8 hit the 6, just depending on what position I played at that time. But it was just a fastball because we read that one of their fly half and their center, they like to drift. So we ended up shooting back inside, which is what Lino did. And I just had to follow him, because if they picked him up, the guy would have left the hole open for me, which worked out because that's exactly what happened.
Because that's what happened. A whole offload and score. But it's not like it was just like a 5-meter try. Like you were. It was a good long run they had there. So, but I guess people saw that spark, and then people started talking about, oh wow, you were part of one of the players of the week. I think it was that week, if I remember correctly. If not, it was one of the close weeks in there.
Mm-hmm.
One of the players of the week at the position. There's people starting to rumble. I think there was articles on MLR about you and kind of your journey. And I think that's important for MLR in general, is the stories. Like, you got a pretty good story. Like, you think about like all the Disney movies and stuff where it's like this nobody pitcher comes out of nowhere and, he has, 2 kids and now he's playing professional sports. Like, it's, obviously, no, the kid stuff, but you go to a combine, you come out. What do you think, if you're looking out talking to other athletes who, maybe play D2 football that don't have the experience of rugby to get out there. What do you kind of say to those people now, knowing that it can happen, right?
Oh yeah. I would say honestly, just like the training, just keep on training, and the mindset. My mindset and my goal was to make the team, to become a professional athlete, even if it means starting from a club team and working my way up, which I believe was supposed to happen, but things changed instantly. Yeah.
Were you slated to play with one of the local teams before basically making your way into the starting lineup, and mind you, playing all 80 minutes for every single game that we had? You're talking about training. Come on, man.
Because training for rugby is definitely way different and harder than football. In football we run a couple hundreds and some other stuff, but that's it.
It's short burst intervals. Like it's high impact short burst intervals, right?
Yeah, basically it's like 4 to 6 seconds of play, and then you have like a minute rest.
Yeah,
and so that's unheard of in
rugby.
But honestly, it's just setting that goal, and then just instead of changing, tweak some stuff from football to rugby, and just being more knowledgeable. Reading and just watching YouTube, and obviously podcasts like this, and just learning from others.
Podcasts like this. We're not instructing people on anything, really. Like, come on, man.
No, but I listened to a couple podcasts back in the day, watch YouTube, and just watch a couple games. At the point, I didn't understand like the rugby formations, channels, and all this, and I'm still learning. But Coach Tyson, my sevens coach, helped me a lot in understanding the game. And then obviously when Herd, aka gilgronis, at the time, just put me in and just let me learn like on the fly. Trial
by fire, right?
Yeah.
I think you did all right. Yeah, just gotta throw it out there. So
they say if I mess up 100%.
Yeah, so. Right. If you're gonna mess up, that's right. So
happened a lot.
Obviously, you talk about your coach, Coach Tyson and stuff, but now 2 new coaches, Coach Harris, Coach Gerard, 2 very influential coaches and players in Australia and in the world of rugby, for all that matter. What's it been like to have them, to learn from them so far? Like, I know everything has been kind of virtual distance because of COVID and everything. Talk to us about kind of that. I know we heard them talk about building the family, right? So what's that been like for you as far as building the family and building that cohesive unit, getting ready to go into, everybody's coming into training, I believe, for next week or here in the next week or so.
Yeah. So it's been awesome. We had our one-on-ones, and then we always have Zoom meetings.
Yep.
So we're always just connecting. I think it's every other Thursday we connect, but we still have group chats that we stay connected in. But it's awesome because in our Zoom meetings, we have like presentations, talk about like our life in rugby, outside of rugby. So just yesterday I actually had my presentation.
Oh, okay. What'd you present on?
No, so I just presented, it's just like people that inspired me, why I do it, how did I come up on rugby. And just like I was telling you on the D1, if it wasn't for my boy saying he's a D1 athlete, I probably would have never tried rugby and stuff.
He's a D1 athlete and you're not.
Yeah. So, and we were roommates too at the time
wow.
in the dorm. So, yeah. So we're just like, man, we can't have this going on in the house.
So are you now telling him I'm a professional athlete and you're not? Like, are you trying to brag on him now?
Nah.
Or is he a professional athlete somewhere else that we don't know about?
No, he back home in Hawaii.
Oh man, okay, could be worse.
Yeah.
So you did, but you didn't present to the team about your love of fishing and some of the fish you caught, because if people follow you on social media, they do know that you are a fisherman and do enjoy a good seafood. I guess being in Oregon, there is always good seafood up there. So no fish.
Outdoors. That's my peace. That's where I get to relax and just clear everything out.
Nice. So it's been, we're coming up on the beginning of the season. It's been crazy. I mean, we all know COVID has been insane. You guys have your pods and stuff that you quarantining, making sure that we stay safe and everything. Give me kind of your outlook for 2021 and what your goals are and what you aspire for your team goals to be.
Yeah. Some of my goals is to learn the game even more from the players that we have now, our teammates, and then especially our coaches. Just keep on learning as much as I can to build off from last year. Since I have, from what I learned last year and the intensity and just playing in the games, I know personally now what I have to do to become, one of those top athletes to perform at that high level. So training, switched up my training, and then we got our strength and conditioning coach, ST, who his program is crazy. And
by the way, we don't know who he is as the Austin fan base. He has not been announced. So just don't throw a name out there just in case you get in trouble for that.
Yeah. All right. But he
I don't think it's gonna matter.
But he has changed the program a lot for us.
Nice.
Especially me with one, even though it was 80 minutes plus last year a game, I was still tired and still had to dig deep. But I think
everybody has to after 80 minutes. I mean, come on, man. But unless you're Brendan Rams, I think Rams can go for 180 minutes and still have enough energy for the rest of the team.
Oh yeah, Rams still going after the game, so
Rams. So.
But yeah, just some goals is just building off last year, learning from everyone, and just being open-minded to everything. Just like last year, it was super humbling from everyone, from Todd, from Drew, and Coach Brent. So I just hope to build off from last year and develop my game.
Nice. And then obviously there's a bit more competition this year. We talked about it. I highlighted it earlier in the podcast. It's not just like, hey, there's like 3 guys and I'm just going to rotate. You've got the other Dom and Dominic Bailey. You've got Moe, your roommate. You've got Michael Dewall. You've got McLean Jones. And so that's 5. Am I missing anybody?
Yeah, there's a few others.
I know.
But
you can't say, man, he's good. He's for interview he didn't blow it. But yeah, so those are the 5 that are publicly known. But there are a few others.
Yeah, so that's just gonna make everything better, make each other better too. So, and
it's good to have that depth, right? Like having depth going in there, so you don't have to play 80 minutes every single game, because the human body can't hold up to that, right? Not even the top World Cup athletes play 80 minutes every single game.
And actually, that Vegas, when we was in Vegas against Rooney, I actually sprained my MCL, or sprained meniscus, I believe. Yeah, that field was
terrible.
Was tough. Yeah.
It's okay. We know.
And I think that was the last people to play on that field was us, they said, before they take it down.
The whole stadium?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I heard horror stories about that, but so as we kind of wrap up here, we've got 2021. Where are the AGs going to be at the end of the season? Going to hold that shield up?
Number one,
baby. You got that. Nice. Gotta love that. But what's kind of some final things you want to say? Any shout outs to family members or anything? What are you looking forward? What's the one thing you're looking forward to this season as well?
I'm looking forward to just being on the pitch with the boys, new family. Haven't met all of them yet, just through Zoom meetings. So I can't wait to actually be together and learn from each other, especially learn from them since they're coming from all different places of the world. So,
everywhere.
Yeah, so that's going to be awesome. And then being coach from our new coaches, Coach Sam and Coach Gerard. So that's going to be fun. And I just can't wait. It's that whole quarantine, like that's why I was hunting and fishing and all that stuff.
Lucky you.
To take my mind off of all these things. But I'm glad to be back finally, training with the boys. And then, I do want to give a shout out to my family back in Oregon and Hawaii. My grandma Alice, my brothers Des, Duke, and DJ. It's my big inspirations right there. My roommates and my lady, Tava'e, Tassi, Trevor, and then especially the help from my coach Tyson helped me a lot to get here, honestly. Without his help, it would have been tough. And then my Motown boys, Monmouth, still there. That's where Western Oregon's located at, small town.
Yeah.
But I just want to give them a shout out. They all push me to be where I'm at too. Yeah, so
that's awesome.
Thank you for everyone.
There you go. We'll have to make sure they share this on all of the social media channels. We'll put the link up there. We'll tag you in it, and then everybody can see all the great things you're doing. Dom, we're really looking forward to 2021. Looking forward to having you back. Looking forward to the battle in the loose forwards to see who's gonna wear those that 6, 7, 8, right? Like, because who knows? I talked about that. I don't see any problem with putting you at 8. So I'll throw it out there. Coach Harris, if you're listening, Dom, I think Dom can play 8. I think Dom right there. So.
I didn't say anything, Coach.
I know. Hey, I appreciate it, man. Good talking to you. We look forward to everything coming up on this season. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Dustin. Appreciate it.
Gotta thank Mason. Gotta thank Dom. Sorry for connection issues and technical difficulties that we do have, but hey, man, that's recording a podcast and doing a video version of it as well in modern times. Like we don't have it. I'd love to meet with them in person and just film them that way, but fortunately we can't do that right now. It's all the time we have for on this podcast. I hope you've enjoyed watching or listening. Well, obviously you're listening it, but if you're watching, how you doing? Please remember to like or subscribe on our Facebook channel, on our Instagram, Austin Rugby Supporters. That's our handle on there. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe, man. We want to continue to bolster that. We really appreciate it. Of course, if you can't get enough Austin or Texas rugby news from everything in the rugby community in Texas, tune into Texas Rugby Monthly with Rick Collins, Grant Cole, and myself as we only talk Texas rugby. If you're listening to this, we just had the January edition drop for you all. So that was an exciting one because, well, the Dallas Jackals. We'll talk more about that another time. Make sure you follow us on every channel that you can for the latest episodes. Hey, you're listening. You've got it tuned into your dial on your Spotify, on your iTunes, on your Pandora. We appreciate it. It's good to see everybody once again. Thanks for your time. I look forward to bringing you more for the 2020 MLR season and hopefully more news and everything going around the Austin rugby community. Stay safe out there, my friends. Always a pleasure. My name is Dustin. We'll see you on the pitch.